this was a subject in a previous video, at which time I do have to apologize about the camera angle. First off, my camera, I had to send it off to get it fixed, so I had to go back to my phone. It doesn't give me the same angles that the camera did, but anyway, I in the last video, I pruned the top really hard and just tip pruned down below, and you can see the results from that. Results from that are like up here, you get nothing but little tiny leaves coming out, and it took quite a little while to recover. You can actually see on a few of these, I don't know what you guys can see and what you can't, but a few of these actually have some burned tips. It's been really sunny. We haven't had any cloud cover, no rain. It's been super hot. It's supposed to be rainy season where these guys would be getting rain almost every day. I've been having to water them every day because it just had stopped raining for some reason. But anyhow, and then down here, I just tip pruned, and you can see the contrast in the size of the leaves. I mean, if you look at, the size of that leaf compared to what's up there now, and that's what constant pruning will get you, is smaller leaves. Of course, you always have to let the tree recover from that or whatever, but that's what happens there. And then over here with this one, today I'm going to repot this one. I'm going to put this one in a different pot. I'm just going to kind of decide whether it goes in a training pot or whatever when I get it out of here and see what it looks like. But if you do look at the other video, this is a little rotten piece. It was actually just attached right there. I've been trying to, hope that the tree kind of envelops it a little bit, but hadn't happened yet. And then this broke off a few days ago. So I'm gonna, go ahead and repot it, try to get whatever rot was out of there. I mean, if you do go back to that other video and you go all the way back to the beginning of it, this was at one time, this was a huge clump that I had together all in this pot. And it just declined over the years. I couldn't figure out why. And then one day I went, I thought I was gonna lose the whole thing. And I just realized that, it was like a bunch of fused trees, and the middle of it had there was two of these, little trees about this size. It was obviously several years ago, just a bunch of cuttings put in a bucket, and then they just let them kind of come together or whatever. But a bunch of them had rotted right in the middle, and so just all separated, and I got these two. This one's nice and healthy, doesn't really seem to have any rotten parts to it or anything, and that's why I'm just going to kind of let it develop a little more in this pot. I'd like to get it in something better soon, but I do want to see if I can fatten the trunk up a little bit more before I go disturbing it. This one, I'd like to get that, I'd like to see if that's rotten, and then whatever kind of root ball I got, if it doesn't look great, I'll probably go ahead and put it in a training pot of some sort. If it looks good, and I think I got something there, I'll go ahead and get it in a better pot. But I'm going to go ahead and first thing I'm going to do, you'll really be able to see the contrast here in a minute, but is I'm going to go ahead and take all these big leaves off. Just that'll give me a better look at the trunk, better look at what I'm doing. And here you can actually, and really spin it around there, you can see what the other side looks like here. And like I said, you got these, I'll leave these on for a bit when on this one. The big leaves help it recover quicker. You can see that these have already gained some length to it, where these are just getting the leaves back on there. That's another point for cutting the growing tips and leaving the rest alone. But I will take all these big leaves off here. Like I said, it'll just give you a better view of what I'm doing. All right, so I got this side all defoliated. I did take out a couple of branches that were growing up straight up off, especially this one. And some awkward spots there. There's another one there. And then like this is another branch that's it's actually starting from this one in the front and kind of coming between the two and coming out. But I do want to keep as much growth as low as possible. One of my problems is that I'm already building some nice ramification up here, but I've got no taper. So I'd like to, get some stuff to grow down there. I don't really want to grow out of sacrifice because I feel like it's far enough along. I don't really want a big, huge, goofy looking sacrifice, but if I could just keep a few branches down there, keep them wired up and keep some movement in them or whatever, that might just kind of help thicken it some. But now I'm going to go ahead And well, I'm gonna pull this guy up and see if I can work on that rotten piece a little bit. So, let's see what I got here. Hopefully, seems like I will, but hopefully I can get it out without disturbing this other tree too much. Just a couple of videos ago, I said that this type of microcarpa doesn't really seem to get the long, like, invasive type of tap roots. And I feel a huge root right there. Definitely the problem with having two trees in the same pot. Way to have a really nice root ball, but I do want to try to get in there and see what the issue is with that one rotten piece. I don't want to leave that in there and have it rot apart like what happened when I had this all in one big clump. And it'll turn out to be a whole lot of work for nothing. So we gotta get, I think there's a few roots that are kind of going over here. They're not really going under the other tree, but they're kind of coming right up next to it. Once I get a few more of those separated, should be good here. Just I thought that a lot of that came from that little area root there. Sometimes they get the straight down root off them. All right, so there we go. All right, so I got it loose, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this other tree back out in the sun and set up to rake that root ball out a little bit. I'll be right back. All right, there we are. Got this guy separated out. I didn't even see that before. A little snail in there. That actually came off pretty good. If it wasn't for that big rotten piece in there, I'd probably just rake them out like normal and pick a pot for it, but I do kind of want to investigate that first. So here is where that stump was coming out. You can see that it was fused with this one. And I mean, when it broke off kind of cleanly, but I do see this root was attached to it. And that's rotten. That's a little rotten piece of root there. So I will just kind of rake it out like I normally would. And then just come back to that spot there. I might have to get some knob cutters from underneath and maybe cut some more of that rod out. And then just depending on how big the piece is, how big the rod is, decide whether or not it needs a training pot or what I might be able to get it in right now. And even though this is the mix with the turfus in it, which I don't really like all that much, but it has been in this mix for a while, and I just repotted a few of these that were in topsoil, and you can see how much easier this is when it's in a better mix. You can just kind of tease it out and just get those roots out of there, or I'm sorry, the soil out of there, and see the roots that are left. Here is where that rotten piece was, right there. What's left does look pretty good. It's part of the problem with not having one single trunk too is that there's several different levels of the roots, and that doesn't even have anything to do with different soil mixes or anything. That's just, you know, this is two trees just kind of clumped together. I'm afraid when I go to get the rest of this rotten piece out that they might even fall apart a little bit. If I had two single trees, it wouldn't be too bad, but the two trees put together kind of gives it a little illusion of some taper where, you know, even without it, you have this really big long spot there. I mean, I don't know. But if they weren't together, that'd be even worse. So there's where there's the rotten stump was kind of coming out of there. Definitely fused together with this pretty well. You can see that just on that one side, there is some kind of nasty bark in there, but then it's hard to tell where it goes from the rotten piece to the good one. Well, actually, I can see right there. See, that was underground, but I don't think that's part of this. I think that's part of that. So you know, the only two real pieces of bonsai tools I have are knob cutters and concave cutters. I don't use the knob cutters as often as I thought I would. Really didn't spend a huge amount of money on them, but I do hate to get in here and get them this dirty. But I'm just going to see if I can get down to some more healthy wood. See, that even looks wet. I gotta get all that out. As soon as I even said that looks wet, when I got in there, it even stunk a little bit. I gotta get that piece out for sure. And the problem is, I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna be able to tell when it where it fuses back together with the good piece. That's pretty wild. I've never seen anything like that before. I'm trying to work here where you guys can see that a little bit better. You see that wood starting to look fresh. Still has some moisture content in there and still doesn't, oh, there we go. That piece was rotten there. See, there's no healthy white roots coming off there. Doesn't look too bad there. But that was right there. That might have been the piece I needed right there. And since they're getting so close together now, I might have to take my chances with what's left. Let's take a closer look here. So that rotten piece was here. Definitely I am gonna hit that a little bit. I can't get that with my fingers right now, but I'm gonna hit it a little bit more here. You know, if it wasn't for, I see whatever I do, and remember this was the outside edge of that clump, and you can see all the roots are going that way, and when it broke apart, that was what made it break apart, was the rotting pieces in the middle. And I got all good roots going that way, so no matter whether I get it in a training pot or not, I'm gonna have to have it way off center. You know, I don't know, some of the radial roots seem to be coming off this way anyway, so that might be a little bit of a blessing, although a little bit of aerial roots over there. It's definitely going to be an ugly side of the stump for a little bit. Try to bury it right about up to there when I do plant it. But that is going to take a little while to recover. If it wasn't, I was going to say, if it wasn't for that rotten piece, I would not need to rinse it off, but I think I am going to rinse it off just because I think it's going to help just kind of get rid of a little more of that rot that was in there. I'm going to get this cleaned up and just go ahead and decide whether I'm going to get it in a training pot or what. All right, I got a pot picked out for it. There's a couple other ones I think would have looked a little bit better, but they weren't deep enough, so this was the only one I could find that was deep enough. I guess this is a lotus design. It's got the little lip on there. I'll have to live with it. I mean, I got to use it for something. But I do have a little layer of soil in there already with the screens. Got some tie downs ready to go. I got a spot on the trunk I'm going to plan on wiring it to. We'll worry about that when I get there, because once it's pot bound again, I do go ahead and take the wire off. But since it's got to be off center a little bit, and I do want the two trunks showing a long way, and so just kind of have it in there. Oh, I did, actually, before I put it in there, I did want to talk about, I did take it out, washed it off, trimmed up the roots a little more. Actually tried to, I think I got all the rot out of there. I was actually out there when I was rinsing off with the hose, smelling it. My neighbors probably think I'm weird, which I am, I guess, but I think I got almost all the rot out of there. It should be fine. I mean, as long as it takes and it starts growing again, Should be good to go. So I'll put that through this side. And maybe I can go ahead and secure it and get it so I don't have to do everything one-handed here. Better. And hopefully one day when I wonder why this is off center so much, I can either remember making this video or reference this video. And I'll remember the side with the rotten stuff, that was the side with the live stuff. I'll probably make that the front. Probably be 2 or 3 more prunings before I even worry about that. Try to leave as many of these bottom branches as possible. And who knows, now that it's, well, I'm gonna have to have it in the shade for a little while, but now that eventually it'll get more light since it's not next to its big sister anymore and everything. Might even start popping some more down below there. I may, just because I think I can get some pretty tight canopy up here, may just continue pruning that really aggressively and leaving the bottom alone. That may help it pop some lower branches too. So the first thing I'll have to worry about is just keeping the life in it. All right, there we are, all set. They're tied in. The tie-in going right here between the 2 stumps. Should be easy for me to cut off once I think it's, you know, a little root bound in there. I'm thinking maybe this time next year I'll probably try to take it off. But that would probably be the front. I do have it offset this way because all the roots were coming out of the one side there. But that would probably be the front because it kind of does lean that way a little bit. Although, you know, over time, you never know. But that is kind of an ugly bad side of the stump there. That's where that rotten piece was coming out. So that'll probably stay the back. And I'll have no problem letting those go and just kind of should kind of eventually almost look like a shrub back there anyway and kind of cover that up. We'll see what time brings us. Got plenty of little growing tips up here pushing out roots. I got a little spot in the semi-shade. I'll put it. It's actually a spot where this time of year it gets a little more sun as we go. I guess I just broke that piece off there. I don't know what happened there. But it gets a little more sun with the changing angle of the sun. I might be able to just leave it there for quite some time. My version of shade is probably what, I mean, you know, some people actually try to grow these as like houseplants, and my version of shade probably gives them more sun than they're given, so it'll be fine. I just find when I don't have it in enough sun that the nodes get really long, the leaves get really big. But for right now, the next couple months, I'm just worried about, you know, it just kind of grabbing a hold of the roots in the pot and everything. It's in the really good substrate now, so should be good. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a good day.